Hello friends, in this video we are going to cover about the muscles of the pectoral region. They include pectoralis major, pectoralis minor and subclavius. Particularly in this video we are going to cover totally, that is the origin, insertion, nerve supply and the action of the pectoralis major muscle. Now let's see the pectoralis major in detail. Origin of the pectoralis major. There are different 3 points that we have to remember in the origin is that anterior surface of the medial 2/3 of the clavicle. The clavicle is there, anterior will be there, 2/3 position of the clavicle from half the breadth of the anterior surface of the manubrium and the sternum up to the 6th costal cartilage and second to the 6th costal cartilage. From second where the manubrium and the sternum intersection will be there, from the 2nd costal cartilage to the 6th costal cartilage muscle fiber arises, and from here diagrammatically we can represent like it is the clavicle, it is the manubrium, it is the sternum, it is a lateral portion, it is a medial portion that to 2/3. From 2/3 the arises which are called as the clavicular fibers. Here the fibers that are arising from the medial 2/3 of the clavicle, they are called as the clavicular fibers. Then second will be down to it will be the manubrium fibers, and next to that will be the sternocostal fibers, and then aponeurotic fibers will be there. In this way the origin of the pectoralis major muscle takes place. Now next to that will be the insertion. The insertion takes place at the humerus, at the bone humerus. How does all these fibers makes the lamina, that is a bilamellar tendon, and they get inserted at the bicipital groove in the form of U. Here we can see that insertion is that bilamellar tendon on the lateral lip of the bicipital groove in the form of U. Here humerus is there, bicipital groove there will be there. Here in the form of the bilaminar, in this way bilaminar tendon insertion takes place. Here we can name it as this is the anterior lamina, this is the posterior lamina, whereas it is the base. We can see the difference between the anterior lamina and the posterior lamina is that anterior lamina is thick, whereas posterior lamina is thin, whereas anterior lamina is short and posterior lamina is long. In this way we can differentiate between anterior lamina and the posterior lamina, and it forms in U shape. Now after the origin and insertion we have to study about the nerve supply. Which nerve supplies to this pectoralis major muscle? The nerve supply of the pectoralis region is medial and the lateral pectoral nerve. Medial nerve which will be the C8 and T1. This we have learned in the brachial plexus, and the lateral pectoral nerve is C5, C6 and C7. These two nerves supplies the pectoral region. Now what are the actions? Adduction and the medial rotation of the shoulder joint. Adduction will be there, adduction, and the medial rotation will be there, medial rotation of the shoulder joint. Clavicular part, the clavicular part produces the flexion of the arm. Sternocostal part is used in the extension of the flexed arm against a resistance. If the flexed that is a folded arms will be there, if we provide the resistance, then the extension that is taking place, for that the sternocostal part is helpful. Now it's also an important one of the accessory muscle of the inspiration. In this way, in this video we have learned about the pectoralis major's origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. The important points that we have to remember at the end of the video is that first of all, origin, 3 points that we have to remember. First of all, it takes place from the anterior surface, that too from the medial 2/3 of the clavicle. And the second point that we have to remember, it's from the half of the breadth of the anterior surface of the manubrium and the sternum, that too up to 6th costal cartilage, and 2nd to 6th costal cartilage the origin takes place. The insertion takes place in bilaminar tendon, that too which has the anterior lamina, posterior lamina and the base will be there. If the difference between anterior lamina and posterior lamina we have to write, anterior lamina will be thick and it will be short, whereas posterior lamina will be long and it will be thin. Nerve supply, where will be the medial and the lateral pectoral nerve. Medial pectoral nerve will be C8 to T1 and lateral pectoral nerve will be C5, C6 and C7. And main actions will be adduction and medial rotation, flexion of the arm and extension of the flexed arm, whereas as well as accessory muscles of inspiration. In this way, we have covered the pectoralis major muscle in this video. In the next video, we are going to see about the remaining muscles of the pectoralis region, that is the pectoralis minor and subclavius muscles. Thank you.